Guys, let me tell you, the Democrats' economic plans are sinister, okay? And this is the thing about Democrats I try to tell people, okay? They go out here and they talk about all these nice, grandiose plans, okay? That sounds great for everybody. It sounds great, okay? But in reality, it's really not great. And it is showing up in the jobs report. As last month's jobs added were only 266,000 when we were predicted to add millions of jobs. So this was disastrous for Biden. Disastrous. And we've been warning about this. Republicans and conservatives have been warning about this because Biden and the socialist Democrats are creating dependency on the government. And this dependency creates need, right? Or the perception of need. Okay? Keep in mind, the Democrats want to raise the minimum wage, right? They might not want to do it via legislation, but they want companies to pay more. Okay? And they're going to force companies to pay more, whether or not it's through legislation or not. They also want universal child care. They want the government to have more responsibility in regards to taking care of our children. So in order to get universal daycare, they have to create this need for it, right? There has to be a need for it. And the pandemic, guys, has created the perfect opportunity for the progressive dream world that the Democrats have always wanted, right? The tax and spend recklessly policies that they've dreamed of, they have an opportunity to now push those things because they've created this artificial need, right? And I'm going to show you guys how they've done this using the pandemic in the economy. So there's an interesting article here on why millions of people are still unemployed and why companies can't find workers, right? This is from the Wall Street Journal. Now, before I get into this, if you watch any of my videos in regards to the economy and things like that, like I've been telling you guys, we're projected, right? Our economy is projected to be red hot. Okay, red hot, right? And a lot of people don't like to hear that because they're like, oh, the economy is going to go to shit under Biden. But you got to understand, what's happening right now with the economy, a lot of it is due to what happened under the Trump administration, right? The stimulus packages that we actually needed under Trump, okay? And some of the things that happened under the Trump administration, just like the vaccines, there's carryover into the Biden administration. Biden got a layup, right? We would have this economy whether or not it was Trump or Biden. The question is, how do you handle a red hot economy? Do you keep pouring gas on it? Or do you kind of, let it simmer down a bit before doing more? The Democrats don't want to do that, right? They don't want to let it simmer down. They want to keep heating it up, right? And causing certain things to happen in the economy and incentivizing people not to work to justify passing policies that they want, okay? And this is the perfect recipe for them to do this, okay? And I'm going to explain more, but I just want to give you guys a nice backdrop so you understand the thesis of my video here. So let's go ahead and read this article here so you guys understand what's going on. In a red hot economy coming out of a pandemic and lockdowns with unemployment still far higher than it was pre-COVID, the country is in a striking predicament. Businesses can't find people to hire. People don't want to work, right? They want to stay home. I wonder why. Rising vaccination rates, easing lockdowns, and enormous amounts of federal stimulus aid are boosting consumer spending on goods and services. I believe last month, guys, consumer spending was up like 21%. So what you're starting to see now is that before, people weren't spending their stimulus checks. But as the economy starts to open up, people are now starting to spend those stimulus checks, which is leading to more growth in the economy and more jobs being available. Businesses are like, people are spending money, right? The economy is opening. We need to hire folks. We need jobs, right? We need to get people employed to handle this increase in demand because people are now spending those stimulus checks that they've been saving for so long, okay? Yet, employers in sectors like manufacturing, restaurants, and construction are struggling to find workers. Again, these are more lower wage jobs, right? They're struggling. Those jobs has not recovered. All the high wage jobs have recovered. Okay, most of them. There are more job openings in the U.S. this spring than before the pandemic hit in March 2020, and fewer people in the labor force, according to the Labor Department and private recruiting sites. Surveys suggest why some can't or won't go back to work. Millions of adults say they aren't working for fear of getting or spreading COVID-19. I call BS on that. Okay, because vaccines are available. If you want to get a vaccine, you can go get one. Okay, right? If you have a fear of working because of COVID, you can just go get the vaccine. Okay, but see, that's not exactly why. Businesses are reopening ahead of schools, leaving some parents without childcare. Again, another key point: leaving parents without childcare. Oh, okay, no childcare, so you can't work because your children need to be taken care of. And also, who's keeping schools closed? Who's not really trying to open back up schools, which would usually be the entity that would be taking care of kids during the day? I wonder who is responsible for that. I wonder what solution the Democrats are pushing for this. Universal daycare. There's a need for now having universal daycare to get people to go back to work. Let's read a little bit further here. Many people are receiving more unemployment benefits than they would earn in the available jobs. Ding, 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 ding. That's the issue. People are getting paid not to work. Okay? People getting paid not to work. And because people are getting paid not to work, that is creating artificial problems that the Democrats, right, are trying to push solutions for. Solutions that could be solved by not paying people to sit at home and not do anything, right? When you're paying people not to sit at home and not do anything, what happens is that you create these artificial needs in which now, for example, the government has to provide childcare services, or there's a need for childcare services to get people to go back to work. All this money you poured in the economy with unemployment and stimulus has created jobs. People are now spending that money. Okay, so we need people to fill these jobs. Well, people don't want to go to work because of unemployment, and they don't have anybody to take care of their kids. So now it's like, well, if you're going to get me to go to work, you got to take care of my child, right? You got to take care of my child, right? Do you guys see how this stuff works? Do you guys understand how the Democrats are taking advantage of this pandemic in order to push the tax and spend policies that they want? And keep in mind, guys, this is all a part of a much broader agenda that they've labeled as infrastructure, right? They're trying to use these very specific needs that they've created, artificially created, to push a broader agenda, right? A broader package that they've labeled as, again, infrastructure. This is politics. Some who are out of work don't have the skills needed for jobs that are available or are unwilling to switch to a new career. Again, they don't have the skills. Okay, that's an issue in and of itself. Okay, that's a separate issue. But if you're unwilling to switch to a new career, again, if you're getting paid not to work, yeah, you're going to be disincentivized to do anything. Okay, you're not going to want to do it. Why would you? You can just sit at home. Hiring has been robust recently, despite the labor shortfall. U.S. employers added 916,000 jobs in March, according to the Labor Department, and economists project that the April jobs report due out Friday will show employers added 1 million jobs or more. Now, that's not what happened at all, right? They actually only added 266,000 jobs. You know how many job openings there are right now in the United States? At least 7 million, right? So that means that out of 7+ million job openings, companies only hired 266,000 people. That gives you an idea, guys, of just how much people don't want to go back to work. Okay? That's nuts. That's insane to think about. right? And now they've crafted all these excuses as to, oh my God, why don't people want to go to work? They're scared of COVID. So you got to get that vaccine. Oh man, childcare. I have to take care of my child. Oh, so now we need universal daycare. And now you're about to see how they're going to make wages go up. Watch this. Weekly unemployment claims fell to 498,000 last week, a new low since the pandemic began. Still, the shortage threatens to restrain what is otherwise shaping up to be a robust post-pandemic economic recovery. Some businesses are foregoing work, such as not bidding on a project, delivering parts more slowly, or keeping a section of the restaurant closed. That reduces the pace of the economy's expansion. Other companies are raising wages to attract employees, which could inflate prices for consumers or reduce profit margins for owners. Workers could stand to benefit from a temporary reduced supply of labor. They could command promotions and better wages, which they then could spend in their communities boosting economic output. They might be able to negotiate more flexible schedules or other perks. Okay. All right. So this is the part about raising the minimum wage, right? That's what the Democrats want to do. They want to raise the federal minimum wage. Now, they obviously don't want to do it through legislation, okay? Because otherwise, if Biden wanted to do it through legislation, they would have done it in the last reconciliation package, right? They could have just overturned the Senate parliamentarian and just got it done if they really, really wanted it. Instead of doing that, they're going to go in a roundabout way, and they're going to basically incentivize people, right, not to work, okay, because you have the government competing with the private sector now. It's like, you know what, I can sit at home and say that, you know what, I'm scared to go to work because of COVID and make, you know, X amount of money per year, make this much amount of money, right, more money than I can make working somewhere else, a low wage job, okay, so I don't need to go back to work. Now, employers, in order to actually get workers because of the new demand, they have to raise wages. They have to raise those wages to be able to compete with the government, right? And they got to raise them high enough that it's going to incentivize people to actually go to work, right? So it's not enough just to match the government, right? Because if you match the government, it's like, well, why would I go to work when I'm still getting paid the same amount for the government, right? No, you have to raise it above that now. You have to raise it above that, okay? They have to raise it so high now that it's like, all right, it incentivizes people to be like, you know what? I can make so much money, you know, working. It's not worth me sitting on my ass all day and getting paid from the government. I should go to work because, you know, I might be able to make an extra $1,000 a month, right? But see, there's a cost because there's no free lunch in this life, right? The cost is inflation, which when you have rising wages and inflation, that's just a tax on wealth. That's all it is. People may feel richer, right? Because they have more money in their pockets, but with inflation rising, right? Because the Democrats are doing all this spending, okay? That's just a tax on wealth. That's all it is, right? They're trying to force businesses to raise their wages, even though those dollars will be worth less because of all this spending that they're doing that is making the dollar less valuable. That's what Democrats are doing. That's what they're doing. And at this point, I really think that they are pushing to have more inflation on purpose, right? Or at the very least, they're using inflation, or at the very least, they're risking causing massive inflation in order to push their agenda and the policies that they want, right? That's why you now see Janet Yellen out here like, you know, we probably will see some inflation. You know, we might have to raise interest rates. And that's why you have all these tech companies and these growth stocks tanking, right? They're tanking my portfolio. This is why I have a beef with the Democrats, because I'm heavily invested in tech and they're tanking my portfolio because they're threatening to raise interest rates because of all this taxing and spending that we don't need. Okay, so I have a personal beef with the Biden administration. They're costing me money, right? So that's why I got to start going after the Biden administration harder, right? But anyways, I just wanted to let you guys know my theory on the economy and why the Democrats are doing the things they're doing. You know, be on the watch out for inflation, man. I really do think that inflation is going to be a big deal. And, you know, they're incentivizing people not to work, right, via unemployment. And obviously, they're not going to, because these companies now have to compete with the government, who is paying people to sit on their ass and do nothing, which ultimately is not going to be good in the long run, right? Wages might go up, right? That may get people to go back in the workforce, but at the cost of that, they're going to be taxing your savings. They're going to be taxing wealth, right? Via inflation. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.